Just a long lost look in your eyes brings out a love that I can't disguise. So take me down to the places I've never seen. Or don't you try to kill me with kind. It's just your love that's driving me wild. Oh, from the dawn we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go, into the light we go. From the darkest night, from the fire inside, into the light we go, into the light we go, to the light we go. It's just a long lost look in your eyes, brings out a love that I can't disguise. Oh, from the dark we rise, with the heart we cry, to the light we go.
We're back here live to bring you more LCK action. Let's take a look at the highlights from game number 1. Good gank early. ROX get off to a good start, but then lose it a little bit later on.
And this was certainly as close to a game of two halves as we've had this season, where at the start it was the killing fields for ROX. Everyone was dying. They were taking objectives left, right, and center. And your first thought was, too much scaling, MVP, sorry, goodbye. Game 1 victory. To ROX Tigers, they kept bannering up minions, and you know what? They bought more than one banner. They got 2 Barons. You'd think, based on conventional logic, they would win the game, but they only had a plan to break inhibitors. When it came to inhibitor turrets, when it came to breaking inhibitors, they were found wanting, and too many times it ended up being tanky closest target is focused on by a Tristana and a Corki, and kills rolled in. Sangyoon and his short-range Kalista never could really do much because the front line wasn't zoning, wasn't controlling space, and the items were hit for the side of MVP, and they went on to win what was a big comeback in this game.
Yeah, sometimes not fully committing, but too confident in the front. Lava that time, they try to engage here. Pilot has perfect positioning. The second Lindarang comes from behind, flashes away from every threat, comes back in when they need him, and it was just MVP keeping their cool underneath all the pressure, perhaps just a bit more confidence. The second ROX began to give them anything, they were like, okay, let's roll with this, roll with the punches, and definitely worked out for them to get another kill here onto the Galio, and then from there it just looked like the entire MVP show.
We're just going to need some nuance from ROX Tigers. They were being very tone deaf, rushed down a lane, taking an inhibitor turret. They had no other map play around that. End result is that is some sick Tristana damage, over 1,000 a minute in this game.
Look at the graph. It's kind of hard to see, but it went from over 10,000 to equal right at the end, basically. That is a very steep slope, Papa Smithy.
That is 10,000 gold in 2 minutes, maximum. Why are we going from 26 minutes to 40 minutes, SpoTV? What's happening there? All right, guys.
The scaling of this one is very interesting.
Our bad on the graph here. That's a SpoTV special. But the MVP, it's going to be Pilot, obviously.
Yeah. Says at the top, he's a pentakiller, did get a pentakill in past times. This Caitlyn, this time around, did heaps of damage, is going to get 41%. Didn't get the MVP when he got the pentakill, but this time they will give it to him. It's very well deserved, of course.
And we said early in the piece, too much scaling, you're never going to get to that 40 minutes. He got to the 40 minutes. He adds to his kill total, and of course, was around for a long time on Jin Air Greenwing, so has 581 kills now. Pilot is 3 series undefeated. Played against both versions of the BBQ versus MVP roster, and then also played in their victory last time out against KSV. He seems to be the good luck charm, breaking the best friends group, with Maha no longer in the lineup, but looking better on the side of MVP.
Certainly they've found a lot more success with this new pick. Has he been the only one? I don't think so. I think it's been more of a team effort, but he does look good every time he comes in. So certainly adding to that effort. Lava trying to warm up, feels like. After that one, feeling a bit left out in the cold, perhaps.
Want to see something different from the side of ROX Tigers, at least something that has different dimensions. Too one-dimensional, in the end, not aggressive enough to actually close the game. So more balanced draft, that's what I want in this second game.
So guys, the bans and the picks are ready here for game number 2. Let's jump into that right now. Here we go, right off to the start. MVP on the blue side this time around. Gonna go ahead and ban out that Varus again.
And predictably, goodbye Sion. Now, it's possible you don't ban Swain for ROX Tigers because you don't expect it to be blind picked, and then hopefully you've constructed something if it is blind picked on the blue side. So we'll wait and see how early ROX Tigers are willing to pick up their top laner. Right now they can go back to the meta stuff though. They will ban away the Skarner. See what MVP's approach is on the blue side, and they clearly don't want to give away a first round mid laner as Taliyah, the only mid laner banned so far. I wonder if Ian will jump on Galio if it's left open, because it hasn't necessarily been a fruitful pick for the side of MVP. They've actually never picked it this season. So they may just give that one over, and I think MVP will continue with not picking the Galio. Still predicted to be very popular on patch 8.4.
Ryze, no surprise here. We went over it earlier on. That new Archangel staff is just even better for Ryze, and the items seem to be pretty good on him. He's strong even after the stopwatch with his ultimate thing was nerfed, and even on 8.4 he got strong again. So that does leave Olaf again if ROX want to go down a similar path.
Olaf Galio is a very decent first round here for the ROX Tigers. Teams are making this read on red side that you don't need to ban Galio against MVP because they don't play it. Still no games played as we are almost at the end of the regular season here in Korea. See what they decide though, as Lava did seem frustrated about how game 1 eventually went, and they'll just ignore Galio. So Galio will go through picks and bans for the first time in a long time in Korea.
I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of weird. I think he's still very strong overall in the mid lane, but they just both don't want to play him.
I also really like Olaf Galio because then Olaf can be even more aggressive with the hero's entrance to also turn around when he counter jungles. Now Azir is going to be in a losing matchup against Ryze, not a massively losing matchup, but one he doesn't fare too well in, and this is the new souped up Ryze with the buffs towards his core item of the Archangel Staff.
We're going to see Pilot jumping onto the Ezreal here. He has played 3 games of it so far, 2 and 1, but, you know, he's been, before this, playing Caitlyn and Tristana, and they were both available, but this time deciding to take a totally different route with that pick.
Means maybe we'll have some excitement around the top side as the Ezreal can be left to fend for himself a lot more freely. Sangyoon obviously picking up massive KDA numbers on the Tristana so far this year. ROX Tigers have been one of our biggest Tristana teams recently. 2 games, 2 victories, and they've played it very smartly. That was largely around Taliyah Tristana. Kind of comes around turret destruction, and Azir suggests more team fighting on the side of ROX. So I feel like ROX have heavily redefined their style on patch 8.4. We can't tell that fully. Only 1.5 games through, but it does feel like ROX Tigers have a different read on 8.4. Gangplank banned away.
Sangyoon Kada. That's what he says. It's another pretty good drawing.
Yeah, we've got some great artists here in the Nexon Arena tonight. Looking for support and ostensibly mid. I guess there's a chance that ADD has also picked up the top lane Ryze bug that Keen is a big fan of. So we'll wait and see. Maybe he's an AP top laner now.
Who knows? You know, it's ADD. He can pretty much play anything, like many members on his team, specifically Max. So let us see what the final ban is going to be here. No mid bans. It seems like ROX hasn't read into that too much. And Alawi taken away from Lindarang.
Suggesting that ADD wants to play something like the Ornn, a very standard tank in the top side, now that Sion is gone, his waifu. See what ROX Tigers want to take. Looking for support here, you would imagine. And to counterpick for top lane. And the Braum would be very stable. No surprises there. Answers the two-shot barrage cleanly from the Ezreal. All right, MVP. We're going crazy on the blue side, or we're going ultra standard. You could definitely see Ornn plugged in, and from there, a mid laner. Well, I'm not a prophet. That's a pretty obvious one. The mid lane pick is already the Ryze, so we're just going to be looking for support and top lane. Go with the Yin. Again, still outside chance of a flex top Ryze, but ADD is not being one of our historical top Ryze players. It's going to be the Ornn, so very, very standard stuff. Team fight draft from the side of MVP. But teamfight's already there from ROX, and again, the Olaf should have a lot of options when it comes to the invade. Seeing how ROX Tigers want to answer the Alawi band away. Are we going to see a tank buster or just a tank of their own on the side of ROX?
Well, Lindarang certainly likes his Vladimir, so left available up against the Ornn. He played that matchup the last time around. Looks like he will be joining that matchup once again.
I'm really not a fan of the Vladimir in this game. It's another free laning phase. Going to get Rem the Watchers, get a lot of GP10 going, get the quest gold. They have so little engage. Their engage is an Olaf Axe or Azir going for a sick Azir sec play. Super low engage. It almost feels like Lindarang has to go teleport and teleport flank as a Vladimir. I mean, if he buys a Ryze, I guess anything's possible, but very difficult to force fights. Now, that means if they can win the early game with some smart counter jungling and aggressive play, they can start objectives and then kite back. And going backwards, or if they're sieging, they have very good siege with Azir and Tristana's relative safety. But usually, in a meta like this, where we're expecting fights early and often, ROX Tigers don't really have the ability to stop the fights, and that is something that MVP can use to their advantage because they have a lot of engage.
Yeah, I was looking at the face of Key, and he looked a bit concerned, so not sure if that's about the draft. Perhaps he's not happy overall. I mean, he's another one of these guys that can play pretty much anything, and he has played 5 games of Braum. He's 1-4 on it, though, so maybe that's another reason.
We'll talk about in the game why I'm a little bit flummoxed by the draft on the side of ROX, but if you look at MVP, not the most damage, but so much teamfight control. Pilot can hit 2 items, and they have a lot of options. They play side lanes well. The fact that Ian can patrol around, and ADD will just be on the standard tank looking for engage. ROX Tigers were looking for a lane. They didn't have access to the Alawi this time, but going for the Vladimir and having even less engage and force than they had in game 1 does not set up their comp for success.
So guys, it looks like we're all ready to go. The countdown has started. Let's jump into game number 2 right now. MVP has
Fanatical fans.
Craziest. Definitely very passionate about their team.
I feel like we should do a feature on those fans just to understand, because usually you have teams like SKT that have fans because they're the best. They have the best player of all time. They're always winning. Kingzone have both the legacy fans of other great teams, but also famous players of their own right. Whereas MVP have had this fanatical fan base the entire time, and they've certainly gone through much more thin than thick over time. The spring season top 5 spot is a long time ago, but still the fans stick with them. That's very heartening to see in the esports industry, where largely it's player-focused brands rather than team-focused brands. MVP, as an organization, one of the stalwarts of the Korean scene, very common in StarCraft and other scenes here, so cool to see them still popular. And again, after just the worst possible start, then in with an outside chance. If they hit 5 match wins, they're only a win behind KSV, our world champions. What a thing, what a world to live in.
What a league we have going on here in Korea. It's been fun so far. I like how competitive it is overall, and the newer teams making waves. Even the ROX Tigers overall sitting at 4th place before this match even started. It was kind of a weak game number 1 here in this series, but I had them slated to win this one 2-0, and so far haven't been too good in terms of what we've seen.
My first thought was an MVP victory, so I'll stick with that, and obviously feeling good after game 1. Speaking of game 1, notice that ADD went for the same strategy of going only for a refillable pot, a control ward to help out his jungler, and obviously uniquely as Ornn, you can enter lane and just pick up an item over time. Sort of selfless play that we don't see very often. This is the first time I've seen it in competitive play, and I must say I am a fan, even if it now becomes pretty clear to the enemy team what's happening.
Well, it might not help him out in this situation. ADD running to his jungler, but he's getting pretty low. Here comes Beyond. ROX very timid about continuing on there as they saw Beyond enter the lane.
I believe ROX saw that MVP had Scuttle Crab advantage, and Ian had already left lanes. There was the chance they would be outnumbered. A lot of respect shown, but does mean that AD gets out with his life. AD's gone for Aftershock this time, so not Unsealed Spellbook, but the Aftershock in order to be able to go for the aggressive Searing Charge plays in team fights. Didn't mention it much in game number 1, but Ornn saw very heavy nerfs this patch. Lost a lot of the oomph from his Bellows Breath W, so less max health. More at level 1, but it scales down lower. And even Searing Charge damage is much less reliable now. So in a couple of different ways he was toned down, but his flexibility, and the flexibility is giving them to protect against the Olaf, is the reason why AD is preferred.
And even after all those nerfs, we're still seeing Ornn, his kit, still very strong. He's not going to do too much worse in the lane, and his ultimate hasn't been changed. It's still a very big game changer overall, so definitely part of the reason why we see him so often. Let's take a look here at the pretty standard Azir runes.
Can't really afford to go into the Gathering Storm against Ryze. It's a tricky matchup. Goes Scorch there. That's probably the most unique thing, presence of mind, to be able to shove out when he hits level 5 and recall. One thing I like to do in the early game here in Korea is talk about win conditions and how a team comes together and how they should win. And that becomes very difficult for ROX. Now, of course, in any game, you get a couple of ganks off, you snowball, you can win, just win lane, win game, right? But when we're talking about how a comp should be played, consider that ROX, after going with the Vladimir, don't really have a core identity. You can say, well, they got some very good team fighting champions. They don't have initiation, so forcing a team fight is hard. Then you say, okay, maybe it's around the sieging with the Azir and the Tristana. They've already shown that Lindarang wants to go Ghost Flash and not going to be there for a teleport, so very difficult to pull off the siege against strong engage like MVP has. So then you're, okay, maybe it's not the siege. The comp does many things, but doesn't have a coherent identity. Now Lava's being turned on. He'll be able to get away. But I always struggle with comps like this that do a lot of things but nothing cleanly when it comes to actually working out how they'll close the game, barring an early snowball.
Yeah, not a lot of jack-of-all-trades comps that work here in this league, so we'll see if they can make it work anyway. SeongHwan coming up, helping his mid laner overall, and Lava keeping up in terms of that mid lane. Very competitive in the CS so far.
I mean, Lindarang plays Maokai, and this comp makes perfect sense. It's about a siege, and then Maokai has engage and also is a strong teleport user in the side lane. The Vladimir makes it a bit all over the place. Lava takes a bit of a free trade.
It's certainly a bit of a head scratcher. We've had a couple of those here so far. Someone's still looking for, he's going to steal some of that plant away, but still looking for opportunities to invade and stuff like that. So far, Beyond has done a better job, just a little bit over one camp of farming over the Olaf in this game.
Which certainly wasn't the case in our first 3 Olaf games in the LCK, where the Olaf has been able to make the enemy jungler that much more accountable. ADD not had any real suffering from being against the Vladimir or from not having an actual combat-related item at level 1. Now has the Catalyst. I imagine Remnant of the Watch is going to be there very soon for Lindarang.
Someone just poked his head into the mid lane and he just pinged level 6 off of that. So will certainly help him on the invade towards the red buff. It looks like he's just going to get that for free as Beyond was going back at that moment in time.
And bot lane was recalling as well, so the timing was good. It was worth it to get the level 6 experience to make it safer. And ROX Tigers, you know, they get a buff. They actually get some value out of their strong skirmishing advantage in the jungle, and MVP say, well, you know, it's a red buff. That's fine to suffer, and we're feeling really good about our scaling, double tier. They're still building. It's all about item timings, and when you look at their lineup, they've got very good ability to play the 1-3-1, strong engage, and team fights. So 2 items on the Ezreal is really where we're going to see this team kick off. And for now, they're just happy to extend the laning phase as long as possible.
So we saw Beyond go back and get the Chilling Smite. He doesn't have Tracker's Knife, of course, 8.4. Had he had it, you notice his Trinket is on cooldown. He might have been able to check this Dragon, but because he doesn't have that ward, you notice SeongHwan go in. He's low on mana, but he's able to pick up that Drake essentially for free.
And I think the fact that I cast all the games is going to be really helpful in noticing trends, because what we will see is we will see early things like, okay, I'm Ornn, I go for a control ward level 1, this is where I put it. Teams are going to see that and adjust to it. Compared to early Drake starts right now, you just think, okay, there's less vision in the game, start the early Drake, there's no ward for the enemy jungler to check it, we're going to be able to pick it up freely, but then teams will see that and they'll respond. So I expect there to be weekly and sometimes even daily metas evolve because teams have so much scouting. We play 5 days a week. There's so many different understandings of how the game will play. And right now we're understanding very early what people like about 8.4. There's still so much to be left to explore. Remember that screen we showed at the start of the day? So much has changed at once.
Beyond, he leashes the Krugs here for Lindarang. Kind of a weird situation there. He like pulled it away and then Lindarang's, okay, thank you for the leash. I'll come in and take this one. Fortunate timing.
And Ian had already rotated out, but they weren't going to fully commit. It's only level 8, so the level 1 not going to have the biggest ability to realm warp. MVP back away. Find themselves in a gold lead, all things to his mid lane.
Here's the play, the Predator coming in. He's gonna lock down Lava for quite a while, but they're not scared to dive in here. There's the Olaf ultimate. Can they burst him? One more hit. They do not. How does he get out of that? What the hell? And the ultimate comes in. SeongHwan, first blood, goes over to Beyond. That such a close fight, but Beyond gets the kill.
What a thing of beauty, the timing on the ultimate as well. He exactly counted the duration of the Ragnarok, rushing into mid lane to get the lane control as well. Sick play by MVP.
Unbelievable. Want to take a look at how close that was. They're going in on Pilot, though, who's forced to flash away. Don't see this too often in the bottom lane, the 2v2.
I actually want to see a replay of that because I don't understand why Max was in the advanced brush and had the enemy team just rush at his AD carry. That was some questionable positioning. Bit bizarre. We've seen a lot of weird and wonderful things today.
Oh, yeah. It's been fun. Let's take a look at this fight first, though.
This was so close. I only looked at the HP at the end. It was around 90. Great Azir sec play from Lava. So far, things looking good. The mind game here is that Ian wants to flash the axe, and he holds onto it for a long time. He escapes on maybe 50 health as bot lane. We're going to dive.
We're going to hold the thought. 4 members of MVP trying to get on in here. Can we have the Rune Prison land? The answer is no, but they still have this push in the bottom lane. Going to get some damage to this turret. And, well, he decides that he wants to die. So he's going to run in as well and say, hey, take my life. And someone's like, how about me too? Let's see if they can get him as he is on the run. One more Q should do it from the Ezreal. They're going to give it over to Ian in the end. A couple of mistakes there from the ROX Tigers. MVP is capitalizing every single time.
Yeah, I don't understand why Key would have thought he was safe to come back to the turret. They knew 3 members were there. The Sejuani was there as well. Very uncharacteristic mistakes from ROX Tigers. And we think, okay, ROX were dominant before 8.4. They see the new patch. In game 1, you say, well, execution 8.4 wasn't there, and you give them a pass. You say, okay, that game, maybe. But then this game, the mistakes aren't to do with the patch. It's just brain fades from their team. And maybe you wonder, they had this massive match later this week against a FLICKR Freaks for a potential top 5 clash. Maybe they're focusing too much on that match because so far here, they have looked unfocused. Clearly, they haven't fully put together all their strategies for patch 8.4 either, as they only read the cover and not all the contents of how to play out the banner meta. And in this game, just again, they seem really second to the action, and MVP are making controlled standard plays, but the standard plays are getting the maximum against ROX today.
I love the way you describe it. Unfocused, I feel, is the perfect word to use because it's just small, stupid mistakes, stuff that normally ROX wouldn't do. It's like their heads out of the game for some reason. Maybe they're a little bit frustrated with the way game 1 went, or as you said, maybe it's something they're preparing for next week instead of, or rather later in the week instead of today. So I think they got to turn it up a little bit, and I'm surprised they haven't after game 1.
So we'll digress. ROX Tigers able to find a bit more time. We've had our piece to say about their plays so far, and also the team comp being a bit all over the place. If the wrong fight is started by MVP, they still have great team fight damage, and the Azir very strong on the defense. But what do we say? If you're going to win here, win lane, win game, or play really well around objectives, getting objective control is looking difficult when their jungler is so far behind. This is going to be the anemic Olaf we haven't seen. We've only seen the super fed Olaf so far this week. And if neither of those things happen, feels like MVP will choose all the options, have all of the engage, and make ROX Tigers pay.
They're looking very happy with the way the game has gone so far. They're going to give it another go at Ian, though. ROX looking for the potential play, but Ian playing passively enough. Perhaps SeongHwan was spotted on a ward, as there is a control ward in the right side of the mid lane. So that does fail in the end.
And interesting that both mid laner and top laner went for the Abyssal Mask this game. I think you could have got away with Rod of Ages if you were Ian in the mid lane, but went for the ultra safe choice. Does mean that wherever the fight is taking place, if both Ian and ADD are split, they will have the 10% damage amp everywhere. But first time I think this season we're actually seeing double Abyssal Mask.
Yeah. And also in terms of items, it's always very satisfying to see 3 tiers in a row. They're crying, but it's happy tears so far because they just keep defeating the ROX Tigers over the Rift.
Walk up, start to clear this one out. See what ROX Tigers want to do. Your first inclination when it's a Vladimir comp is not go for the contest. Mountain Drake isn't an Infernal, so it seems like it's going to be surrendered after their earlier misfires. And Ocean Drake second is good news for a ROX Tigers team who've decided to just play around Lindarang's gold generation and slow it down.
Yeah, so we're going to tie them up in terms of the Mountain Drakes here. And that's going to be pretty nice, especially when you have that Ezreal on your side. You don't have that super consistent Baron or objective damage, so a good Drake for them to pick up overall. Looking to potentially accelerate this one. You notice this bottom tier 1 turret is getting lower, and they're looking for another dive here along with Ian and beyond. And you'll notice that this time around, Key and Sangyoon definitely respecting this play.
Yeah, Olaf is still in base, you recall, but even popping Predator wouldn't have arrived there in time, so cunningly prepped 3 minutes ago with their smart play around the turret is cemented with the first turret of the game. Very early power spike build coming through from Pilot, going for the Iceborne Gauntlet, not going for a Trinity Force control build. It's going to be a team effort to kill people, but so many control items means that they'll be able to keep someone stun locked for a very long time. So far, so good for MVP. A 2-0 over ROX Tigers will be a huge win for them.
That it would, oh, the prediction right onto the soldier. Turns out it doesn't matter, but at least it looked cool. Ian doing a little dance there as well, saying, hey, we're styling a little bit here.
Lane swap started, Max in the top side. They're very slow to scout this ROX Tigers. Usually we see the enemy team matching this quickly, but Braum was in the mid lane and Tristana was in the mid lane, so MVP are ahead of the play here as well. Vladimir is going to eventually reach the minions as they push in a second wave, but it's not great from the side of ROX Tigers, already seeming off the pace again. 2 items on the Ezreal. Pilot ready to fight. Even team fights for ROX are looking difficult because they are behind in most roles. As Beyond has had 8 ganks, or 8 attempts at contest here.
You know, yeah. SpoTV, they call ganks for very small things. They're very liberal with the use of the word gank, or ganking in this case.
Definitely has been around his lanes a lot, is really something you can take away from that. Sangyoon having no fun at all. Let's get the zoom out to let us know that Ornn is lying in wait. They know Cleanse is down on Lava.
Yeah, they certainly could have had unlimited CC in that situation, had the Rune Prison come in, but good passive play once again out of Lava, understands.
This is great. They push through and cut through the enemy jungle, knowing that they have a skirmishing advantage when MVP are pushing up the top lane turret. Tier onto the Taric means spamming the heals, doing plenty of damage himself to the structure.
Yeah,
this is the sort of organized play we saw from KSV early in the season when they were looking at their strongest. Bloodless in the past 3 or 4 minutes, but moving forward. And we're still early enough in the game that AD gives no cares about the Vladimir damage, and Ryze is coming too.
Yep, speaking of which, the Ryze should be able to get in there first, as SeongHwan is going to be behind. That ultimate, not going to land the brittle here, but it's going to land the second effect. Going into the pool now, we'll have his Q available to flash away. He does stay alive here, and in comes Key. Maybe MVP got themselves in a bit of a struggle here, as 4 members going to line up. Lindarang getting a little bit too close, but in the end is going to survive, and the ultimate's going to miss now. Things going from bad to worse. That's going to be a double kill now for the Olaf ROX, turning it around.
Oh, they baited themselves into a corner. By the end, it was 4v2. They give up those 2 kills. Takes a long time for MVP to rejoin, but Pilot's ults here.
They're going in, and the pool is available. The Ignite, though, is ticking down one more, and it's going to win. Max is going to take down the kill with the Ignite.
But in the fiesta of the last couple of minutes, Sangyoon can just push through mid lane, take a turret, and get an objective after all the madness in the bot side. So MVP getting too keen, turning on the fiesta. We'll watch the replay. At the start, if you can actually complete the kill, this is a smart move, and it looks like SeongHwan will be too slow. But unfortunately, Taric is in base, so is Ezreal. The Sejuani was topside when this all started, and they just went in too far, Valdez.
Yeah, sometimes you underestimate the amount of survivability the Vlad will have.
Or on a simple level, you overestimate the damage of double Abyssal Mask, Ornn, and Vladimir.
Yeah.
So Ornn and Ryze will have onto a Vladimir, so that was silly. The yakety sax music was there in my head, at least.
Yeah. Vlad's got a surprising amount of health at times, so you got to be careful. One mistake, and I said it before in game one, but it's been a sloppy series so far.
Which again, with our higher expectations for ROX Tigers, then MVP is going to be, again, more shaping our opinion, because ROX Tigers are a team we're looking at to potentially make it to the playoffs. A game against a Freak of Freaks on the same day as the Telecom War on Thursday makes it a great double feature. Losing to MVP here does start to lose that title, as it suddenly seems like a very uphill battle to beat a Freak of Freaks.
Well, things are going to calm down here for just a bit. Nobody has gone for the Rift Heralds, just the way this game has played out. So that is going to expire here in a couple of seconds. Still looking for that tier 1 on the bottom side is the ROX Tigers with their newfound energy after winning that last fight.
Remember, they don't have engage, and there's a lot on MVP. So the moment that you see a Sejuani walk up, not able to actually finalize that turret, the Ocean Drake might be a possible takeaway for ROX Tigers, though. I feel like MVP will always walk up to contest because they have so many ways to zone ROX Tigers away from an objective. Do have the Braum ultimate, so the Braum Unbreakable to interrupt the Ornn ultimate, so at least one of those ranged engages can be answered. And finally, we see the start, but look at MVP, they're definitely coming.
Yeah, the TP's coming in. The smite will go over to the side of the ROX Tigers, though. So TP now from Lindarang, who can join the fight, but actually gets himself into a bad spot. Cosmic Radiant's going to come down. They're looking now for Lindarang in the front line, who doesn't have his pool. Is going to go down in the trade for just the Ocean Drake.
And Lindarang could have canceled his teleport and stayed topside. There's no reason for him to group. The initiation threat after Braum held onto his Unbreakable at the start was minimal. And by the end, the ultimate was countered by the Unbreakable, but Lindarang was way out of position. Not a great use of teleport there. On his second visit to the Vladimir, and MVP going to start up the Baron. Oh boy, okay.
It's MVP. You know, this is what they want to do. They have some good consistent damage from the side of Ian, who now has some damage items. They might look to turn here. There is the Realm Warp. They're going to go dive right on in. But there's the Emperor's Divide. Doesn't seem to matter, though, as MVP is pushing on through. That is 2 kills in a very low lava. They can immediately go back to the Baron.
It's a new dawn. They peeled off the Baron. They did not go for the 50-50 that they have been known for over a year of play. Great Realm Warp into the back line. ROX were baited. How can you not be? It's MVP. And speaking of MVP, it's their Baron.
They're looking a lot cleaner and a lot more confident overall after the win to KSV. And oh boy, now it's not looking so good for the ROX Tigers. Look at this play.
This was fantastic by MVP. And Lava wasn't able to actually get the scoop. They were all knocked in the air by the Searing Charge, I believe, during the animation of the Emperor's Divide. That's a cool interaction that we never see. Big play by the Ornn made that happen.
That it did, and also Ian very quick on the Rune Prison onto Lava. He didn't waste any time with that. Immediately clicked onto him saying, nope, you're not going to get out of this one. Locked him down. He didn't go down in the end, but had the right idea.
Looking at the damage to champions, plenty from the Ornn. The Banner of Command and Baron buff are complete. Just a single one, 5 minion dematerializers available onto the Vladimir. So this is the sort of banner play where you want to make it in a side lane, because if the Vladimir is grouped with the team, he can answer it. Beyond, looking for this outer mid lane turret.
They are going deep onto Key here, and the stun in the back line onto Lava too. Looks like they just were too confident that they wouldn't go down. A double kill now given to Pilot. Oh boy, ROX not looking clean tonight.
But the patch 8.4 meta is so damn aggressive, so much assertive fighting. Game 1, MVP were able to stay in it by fighting when the enemy team was at its strongest. This time MVP's at its strongest, and they're still fighting.
Gonna get that very long-range caster minion from the back, doing that siege damage. And this is gonna be a quick push down the mid lane with Baron and the banner. Let's see what else they can get, especially with the Mountain Drake. They're gonna get 2 turrets, going for their 3rd.
They're gonna break through the entire reinforcement of mid lane and take an inhibitor in one passage. Huge swing of gold. They're suddenly 7,000 gold ahead.
Somehow, just like that, a couple of fights, and the Baron and a bunch of the turrets. So they get that first big objective, and still a minute of Baron to boot.
And it's the right move because ROX Tigers comp, I criticized it in Champ Select, I'll say it again, it doesn't do any one thing to have a true identity. It does a lot of things sort of. And MVP has so much engage, and with the Baron buff, feel no threat from ROX Tigers. There's no re-engage, there's only an Emperor's Divide and a Braum ultimate to even be control ultimates in the game. We're going to see the replay. They rush in. They know they have Baron. It's a level 9 on Key. The moment the Unbreakable is down, guess what? The call of the Forge God is going to register. They dive through. They use the Taric aggressively. Beautiful stuff from MVP.
Good dazzle, too. I was wondering how Lava got stunned up, but it was just the dazzle on through, and nicely done.
All right, Pilot. Let's see what kind of a guy you are. You have a 10-stack Dark Seal.
What kind of guy is he exactly?
I would love him to be a Medjai's guy.
You put your hand on my shoulder and I'm like, what is about to happen?
I want him to buy a book. That's what I want him to do. I want him to buy a Medjai's Ezreal.
Buy the book. Just do it.
That would be some manners right there. Pilot strikes me as a very mild-mannered guy, so maybe not.
You know, I mean, in some cases, it's not a bad idea. I mean, especially in this one, like, he's so far ahead, right? 5-0-3, set a couple of sick games. Here is the fake Realm Warp. Just going to push them off the turret here as the Baron is done. They're taking down turret after turret and having fun with it. MVP looking really good.
They look fantastic. This patch is really rejiggered them. You think of the last time they played this surprisingly well, and I'm not talking about the KSV series, I'm thinking of last year when Cho'Gath came in meta and they went from relegation and got out of relegations with a big patch change. This patch change is even bigger, and MVP, if they win 2-0, are still in with an outside chance of playoffs after starting the season with no win in 10 games.
It's unbelievable. 5-match losses, 10-game losses in a row. In a row. It's hard. It's hard to do that. It was the opposite of King Zone. We thought they were going to be in 10th place.
And they looked atrocious. They looked like they had no chance to even pick up a game victory. And from there, this is a huge rise for them. Their fans are going to be so ecstatic. ROX Tigers not out of it, but it feels like they're out of it.
Nice ultimate from the side here. Key unbreakable link towards the back. Wanted to make that Ornn ultimate not come in, but either way, it is going to be a turret going down. So another objective, and it looks like now an Ocean Drake, so MVP can gain some parity here in the Drakes up against ROX.
Gonna force another spawn as well before we get to the Elder Dragon. A ward just to confirm that it's gone, and Realm Warp in, Realm Warp out. Great Realm Warp usages by E in this game. If you look at his records so far on the Ryze, he's only played the 2 games. I believe they were both losses as well, so they were finding no value out of the Ryze earlier in the season. Ryze was indirectly heavily buffed this patch with his core item, the Archangel Staff, getting 20% CDR and more mana. But could not have seen this affecting their play. If you think of teams being affected by the Ryze buff, you think of SK Telecom, think of KSV, as Cuvée and Crown both play the champion, but Ian even able to pull out a lot on the pick. They continue to push up. The gold lead once again gets larger, and they're in a great position to close the game because they have the strong engage to actually cement the inhibitors. One inhibitor respawning thanks to the SpoTV timer in about a minute's time.
Yep, so this time MVP looks like they're going to send 4 members up top, push in mid as well, send Ornn down bottom. They need to buy some time here. May just play it safe and wait for the next Baron as well, because we're only 15 seconds out And they do have that Mountain Drake, so should be an easy. It seems like they've learned to turn off of Baron, so
I know.
They can even do that, you know, like a good team. they're looking good. It's weird.
MVP are a good team.
Yeah.
You know, they have not been hapless in a long time. They may have been win-loss, but they have never gone into a 2-match losing streak since the 5 matches in a row. So credit to their coaching staff for picking up what was definitely a squad low on confidence and making them relevant again.
Beyond not scared to move in. He knows he has the objective here. Come on in. Nice Braum ultimate. Beyond is getting low, and now a teleport coming in. Did we jinx them is the question. Lindarang now going to be here, and Max goes down. Looking to turn now. As Pilot trying to get in there, as well as he, and now ADD finally going to join up. They're looking for the turn, and they should be able to. The Realm Orb coming in, and very low members in the back line. Good Emperors to buy them some time, but it's not going to matter. That's going to be a double kill for Pilot, and now with 3 members down, they're going to push down mid lane.
Ian was waiting over at the Krugs for his moment, found the moment, and they are able to pick up the inhibitor once again off spawn. They won't be able to break the base in a second spot, I'd imagine, with 2 members dead, but ADD is certainly going to try and usher this bot lane minion wave. Still is 2 alive on the side of ROX Tigers. That includes Sangyoon, but he's going to be zoned away from the minion wave.
Yeah. Generally, when you see a fight like that on 8.3, you're thinking, okay, 40, 50 seconds maybe on death timers. But, hey, we're only 29 minutes in, so they're not super long. Got to go for the inhibitors, the safer play in this case, and that they will. So 2 inhibitors go down. MVP looking super clean, Mr. Clean tonight.
Ezreal is so ungodly fed. He'll need to sell the 10 Dark Seal.
Or.
I know you're talking about the Medjais. But, you know, he probably needs a bit more power. Ezreal does have the cheaper build, so needs to get as much early, much to my chagrin. ROX Tigers going to get control over the Baron. They might try and rush it here. They do have good Baron damage.
Yeah, good read here from MVP, seeing that coming in.
They're going to go for it, I think. They have to do something.
Yep, looks like that's going to do it. They do have the good Baron damage you mentioned. Ryze a little bit far away. They're going to engage, though. There's the ultimate on in.
They got it.
Okay, that's going to be secured. How many kills will go down, though, is the Olaf in a lot of trouble. Trying to actually recall out of there. That's funny. Lindarang is going to go down as well. So 2 kills in the trade for the Baron.
But the Baron will delay. At least the minions will be able to push out, but only in a single lane, which is the top lane, the only other place they have an inhibitor turret. They will also get a bit of help pushing out the waves in mid and bot lane. So this is just a stalling Baron. It was a good decisive call. The control ward meant there was no ability contest from MVP. Did pad the stack. It's now legendary for Pilot, who has a black cleaver. All right. 40% CDR already without blue buff. He'll take it anyways. Second blue buff, getting a refresh here. Very strange item to build because there's no other AD damage on the team.
Only helps him, but after all, he is the carry. He is the pilot of this airplane that's, funnily this time around, not Jin Air. It is actually the MVP airplane that's pushing in.
Is it for the Rage passive? Is it for the movement speed? Could have gone, because could not go for a Trinity Force because he already had the Iceborne Gauntlet. Very, very strange. But anyways, that's the way he's decided to go, and we'll have insane amount of chase potential, that's for sure.
Well, you can see that it's hard to push into Baron minions, especially when you're going up against Azir and Tristana. So MVP struggling to find a lane to go for. They're just trying to bait here, it looks like.
They can't play 3 lanes with the banner because the Baron buff minions, because it's not on Vladimir. So Vladimir will take a little bit longer to push out the bot side. MVP needs to be careful. There's now damage on Sangyoon.
Ultimate here is going to land, but will be blocked on the backside. So an engage that pushes ROX back and doesn't buy MVP too much time.
He needs to be a big damage threat here, is my read on this particular game. It's gone into the new Haunting guys. That's fun. So it's not going to be the magic penetration anymore. It's about in combat. Putting up to 10% bonus damage, and he has 10% damage amp already on the Abyssal Mask. First time I'm seeing this build on Ryze.
It's an interesting one, you know, because the fights are going to last a long time, especially in competitive play. So you can get up to 10% damage very easily.
And Ryze, of course, is the shotgun mage. He's able to get the multiple spell rotations, so he certainly will be able to stay in combat for a long time, and Liandry's now does the maximum HP damage, is completed. So first Liandry's we're seeing in the LCK after the change. So when it's hard CC, it is the 2% max health damage and 1% regularly, and there's a lot of health on the side, a lot of beef on the side of ROX, so you can understand it. Just forcing the Elder Dragon to spawn is an important thing for MVP. They would have wished that the Elder would be spawning around 35 minutes, given how much map control they currently have. They lose the fight. There's a very real potential there will be even vision around the Elder at the 39.5-minute mark when the game will reach that first Elder Dragon moment. Trying to wait out the Baron. We know about 15 seconds left here for ROX Tigers, but both of their inhibitors respawn in less than a minute, so it lines up well that they'll be able to actually contest in even battlefields around those objectives.
You can see MVP, they have the timer on this one as well. They're going to begin pushing in right as the Baron goes down and the inhibitor is coming up. Looking for an opportunity here, so. Again, they don't have much else to do. No objectives on the map currently. Going to just go for the 4-1. Not sending Ryze towards the bottom side or anything like that. Just want to come in here together.
I'd love to break the inhibitor and then maybe fall back to the next Baron to guarantee a victory. We talked about how ROX Tigers lacked an identity. They're good at stopping a push in their base. That part is for sure. Not something you really talk about in team composition analysis because, you know, you're focusing on how they win the game, but delaying the game or turning around a push in their base is something that Azir and Tristana are very good at.
Yeah. Sun Turret goes up in mid, so MVP say, well, I guess we have to go bot. As ROX still looking to make the defense here, but MVP getting a little bit anxious about this one. They want to push this in. That banner minion just disappeared, so not helping out too much, even beyond taking a lot of damage. But again, it is Sejuani.
Need to find a way to actually use the Unbreakable. They can bait that cooldown. They have a way to engage, but while that's not available, Olaf walks to the front. As long as Olaf is in front of the Tristana, there's no threat at all onto Tristana being engaged on. The game continues to delay. This is not possible around Baron, where there'll be much more vision to play around. It's okay, we just go for it.
Okay, they're going in. They certainly have the comp to do this, trying to get onto that back line. And they will at least push them away at this point. They're going for this inhibitor,
could be a re-engage.
Beyond, getting pretty low. Ian now becoming that shotgun mage, Lindarang here. But now they just want to disengage, and they did not get the inhibitor in the fight. It stays alive.
Yeah, the struggle to actually take an inhibitor is real for MVP, and they'll have to turn onto the Baron to have a way to actually push through the game. That Baron ends up buying ROX so much time, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's the entire respawn timer because they could not control the map adequately on the side of MVP, and I think it's maybe time to consider changing this build, and yeah, we will see the Black Cleaver is sold for the more Malmortius by the Ezreal. I wasn't a big fan of the Black Cleaver because there was no other synergy, and chasing is not a thing you do in the enemy base. So he goes for more to try to fight through the Vladimir burst, and Arcane shift aggressively in the last couple of fights.
Well, MVP overall, they haven't made any mistakes. That's a good thing we can note here, really. They give up the Baron, but that was after they get a bunch of other objectives, and so it delays, but nobody died. They didn't lose a big team fight. They didn't overcommit to the inhibitor. They're staying very cautious about not overcommitting. So they buy themselves the time to get the second Baron, or the third Baron, up on the Rift.
What they need to do from here, MVP, set up their side lanes, set up the Baron, and then from there, ROX Tigers can only really fully commit because they have no engage. So really the Baron heralds the great options for MVP that the enemy base does not. Something that will draw the enemy out. If this was 8.3, we could have been looking at a game that would go very, very late because there wouldn't be the ability for MVP to close, and ROX Tigers have a lot of delay. Because it is 8.4, and we have the Baron getting stronger and stronger until the 40-minute mark, and the threat of a second Elder Dragon to basically straight up win the game. ROX Tigers will continue to have to leave their base to places where they don't have a defensive advantage, and these scenarios are forcing ROX to fight in a way that the previous patches didn't incentivize when you're behind.
MVP have a good pushing lane down on the bottom side, so they're looking to delay, wait until somebody goes down there. You'll notice that Lindarang doesn't have TP, so he might go back, pick it up, and then go bottom lane. Let's see if he does change that as his recall is taking a long time. Finally goes back, picks up TP. And the more time that goes by, the Elder Drake is also going to spawn, which will create that interesting situation where ROX could go for it. But here we go. The Baron is going to be started for MVP. Lots of vision being denied so far. It's only 2 members. Finally, they are going to spot this.
Ryze does so much damage solo to the Baron. It's way lower than ROX would expect.
TP comes in, and MVP actually do disengage. So they're not looking for the 50-50. Again, looking very cautious. A much more balanced approach to the Baron so far from MVP tonight.
Didn't even consider that Leandros would give Ryze a lot more options around the Baron. We saw the straight line translation from Sangyoon trying to just take the turret, and he will.
Well, that's Sangyoon for you. ROX definitely does play around this guy.
They're going to keep going.
Yeah,
they have the stun turret as well.
It's going to be a nice bit of damage here. The Braum Warp actually coming in, but Max from behind once again on top of them. Did they go too far? Really nice Emperor's Divide is a total disengage from the ROX Tigers. Very well played from them.
Yeah, really good in-game shot calling from them to understand they had the option to push through mid. MVP would have to go all the way around, and the Sun Turret made it all possible. We will get a pause. Hopefully this one is a very easy one to leave, but a pause there is very awkward as we had some cool camera shots. Let's zoom in, yeah.
Yeah. That is on the side of MVP. I saw the refs rushing on in there. Looks like it was ADD who is having a little bit of trouble. Of course, playing the Ornn in this game, trying to describe what may have happened. Yes. Whether or not we'll need a remake.
I mean, we're only lip reading right now, but from the gestures he was making, it seems like a game issue rather than an audio issue. So wait and see the update from our producer as to what has happened here.
Yep, still waiting on that. ADD actually, he hugs the pillow of the chair during the game rather than putting it behind him.
It's all about that good posture, but AD decides, I just need my ultra comfort. He doesn't have Scion anymore, so he needs to hug something.
That's very true. Still trying to figure out what the issue is, but we have gotten the information that it is, in fact, a game issue. So stick with us, guys. ADD certainly did a lot of explaining. Hand gestures.
Such a tense part of the game also after ROX Tigers have made a very smart move through mid lane when MVP were definitely out of position to contest any objectives, forcing Max to flash in and ult under turret just to disrupt there, potentially being an inhibitor line broken by the side of ROX Tigers. Waiting to get confirmation of what the game issue is, but imagine this related to the Ornn ultimate. That's usually the way, maybe a searing charge going awry. We have to just purely speculate. Able to show you this overlay to understand where the game is at. The gold lead is getting smaller. It was 7,000 earlier in the game. Now only down to just over 5,000.
Looks like the refs are leaving the booth and ADD with a small little smirk. So perhaps things are fixed. But let's take a look at what happened here.
So he teleported in.
Teleports in, but the ultimate comes in for some reason.
That's very interesting. So I guess he was thinking the ultimate was just used at the same time. So it seems like there was some issue about the ultimate and the teleport being used. Very strange. Teleport was very hopeful. The turret looked like it was 100% going to go down.
Yeah.
Moment that you see a satchel charge and a couple of autos from a 40-minute Tristana, turret's gone. But the ultimate being on cooldown is obviously a secondary thing that ADD is protesting about. We now know from the pause the other day over at OGN that there is chrono break in the game.
Yeah, so he was trying to TP to the turret, but the TP was, or rather the turret was destroyed.
That part was very clear, and then it seems like around that control, the ultimate somehow came in, but no bug is announced, so we will return to the game. The teleport, as we got to scrutinize, wasn't the best from ADD, but he's still in position around the Baron.
He's like, I messed up. Can somebody fix it, please? Okay, well, the ward is going to get down here as ROX. Once again, we get back into this extremely tense game. Sangyoon is certainly the bus driver here. Lava as his co-pilot on this bus, looking for an opportunity to engage.
And because of the previous push, note that the important control ultimates are all on cooldown from MVP. They do not have the Core of the Forge God, the Glacial Prison, or even the Realm Warps. They need to play very defensively around this objective. Usually they will start Baron and turn. If you start the Baron when you don't have your control ultimates, you don't have the option to turn, and then the 50-50 is real.
You're talking about the ultimates. The second that Ornn ultimate gets close, they turn onto the Baron, but
I mean, minions in mid lane are probably not going to push the inhibitor quickly, but they are on the inhibitor.
Yeah, here we go. Pilot doing a bit of poking, but he's not attacking that Baron right now. They're just waiting to turn here, it looks like. ADD in the front lines, but it's getting pretty low. The Ornn ultimate now coming on in is going to be blocked by Key, and the Olaf trying to get in, but he goes down before he can get low enough for the smite, and it is going to go over to the side of MVP. Now they turn on to Lindarang, who's all alone, and it looks like even through the Zhonya's MVP trying to pick up this kill, the Realm Warp. They really want to get at least one more member, but it looks like at least Lindarang is going to survive.
Where did he go? The Olaf died instantly, loses the resist the moment he presses ultimate, and then focus fire instantly collapsed. Died as fast as you could ever expect. I was watching the Baron HP, and the Olaf died incidentally. Holy moly. We do have the Baron buff and double banner available, but MVP want both buffs. Lower respawn timing on the Elder, remember. There'll be a second Elder spawning at 48 minutes, and that will be the epically buffed one. The first one is the regular Elder, but 3-stack Elder Dragon and Baron buff for overlapping 2 minutes 20. This is a lot of power to MVP.
Let's take a look at the replay here.
He just straight up died really, really fast, so could never go for the contest. Plenty of time to wait for the smite and get it around 650, so... Very straightforward there for the side of MVP.
Good work from MVP. You can tell they are very focused, where perhaps ROX hasn't been in the series, because they immediately turn off the Baron, and then they go for it once again.
And there are no minion dematerializers left. We're at full build. So Cornelius, the Baroned up banner of command minion here, is rolling in. How's Cornelius going to go, Valdez?
Yeah, and his buddy Eugene right behind him coming in. The couple of them, we actually got the, at the bottom, you guys can see the patch notes if you haven't been paying attention or watching. They're pushing on in. They're looking for the end here, potentially. And Lindarang actually just walking at the Ryze at 41 minutes. Not a good idea. Looking for the engage here. He is going to get out. He actually does have the cleanse.
I believe Cornelius is still alive.
Yep, looks like he is. He's getting pretty low, though. It's the Tristana trying to get in there. Actually forced to flash away as he gets stunned up by, I think it was the Ornn in the front line. So Sangyoon losing his flash, attempting to kill that Baroned up minion.
And Cornelius and Eugene are no longer part of this world. But this is a nice little rotation here for maybe. They're trying to backdoor the turret.
Yeah, they got some minions left over, so they're going to use that to get that turret and the last inhibitor potentially. At this point in time, it's a decent defense from the Azir Tristana, but it might not be enough. Getting pretty close. And once again, cautious is the side of MVP, but they finally push in and get that third inhibitor.
Yeah, 2 inhibitors down. Next cannon minion, I imagine Banner will be close to being available again. We can see it's about 25 seconds away. MVP, when it comes to Siege, really only is Ezreal. So their Siege is not fantastic. They want to bring in all the minion waves with the Baron buff, group them up. Notice there's only 20 seconds left on the Elder, and 1 more minion wave, about 40 seconds left on the Baron.
Yeah, here we go. That's a massive wave coming on in. Even without the banner, they're just going to use this. But here we go. ROX putting in a final engage, trying to get in there. But immediately, someone turns tail and says, no, I don't want any part in this. Is going to run back. An MVP with the siege. How do you break through this? It doesn't look possible. Lava gets too low, has to disengage. Ian tries to flash in. And Key getting extremely low. SeongHwan forced to flash away. Lava in the end barely survives. They might be able to do this. Lava trying to put on the heroic defense, but he finally goes down, and that's going to do it. MVP with another victory, 2-0 over the ROX Tigers.
Massive upset by MVP against apparently the playoffs-bound ROX Tigers. Suddenly, they slip up on their first match on 8.4. They didn't look focused. Their gameplay in the early parts of Game 1 looked like they were well ahead of the meta on 8.4, but they didn't clearly know how to close with a big lead on an early game comp. And in Game 2, MVP just played a tighter game than they could. Well-deserved victory for MVP. They move ahead of BBQ and Jinair to 7th place after being dead last, 0-5, 0-10 in game score after 5 matches.
It's been a drama-filled LCK so far. Is this the last twist where somehow MVP comes from behind, perhaps even takes the place? It's still early to call. We got about 5 games left for each team, but hey, you never know. They're definitely making a case for it here tonight as they get their 2nd win in a row. The first time, I believe, in this entire season that they've got 2 wins in a row.
And then you see the faces of ROX Tigers, a lot of frustration as they go over. They knew this was going to be a difficult week to go 2-0, but never would they have considered going 0-2, allowing SKT and KSV some time to catch up. SKT also losing earlier today is good news for ROX Tigers, but when it comes to their hopes of going higher than just playoffs, even just the playoffs part is not locked in just yet. They lose to MVP 2-0. It'll hurt their game score as well. As we watch the replay, those heroic turret defenses so much harder as the Baron buff has really buffed up the play.
I mean, you got 3 cannon minions in the back, and one of them has banner on them, so I mean, there's not much you can do. He's attacking the correct target, and in the end, they had to engage. They had to put up that last stand, and well, they weren't able to in the end. Looks like that cannon actually got the kill at the end. One of these bannered up minions killed the Vladimir, it looked like. So good last push. They noticed the big wave and they move in with that.
And you know what we can be excited about? MVP's play around Baron was categorically better than at any point I can remember in their history. 2 series in a row, there was no 50-50 Baron against KSV because they had a Leona zoning out threats of KSV. Today, they peel off it smartly, they use the Realm Warp. There was, of course, the Passenger play where it seemed like ROX Tigers might come out, and there was a great play by them to go straight down the mid lane and break the mid lane inhibitor. But after that, MVP made the smart Baron call. They closed the game, and the ROX Tigers comp that we criticized, predictably, wasn't able to get it done.
The amount of damage Olaf did looks cool, right? 9,999, but his play, not so much overall. We've seen Olaf's be very good in different compositions, but this time around did not work out for the ROX Tigers.
Again, it was a random sampler of a comp. The Vladimir in the end was just to get pressure on the Ornn, but the Olaf fell behind, couldn't really invade, was a step behind, 4,000 gold less than a Sejuani and 1,000 gold more, sorry, 1,000 damage more than the Taric, which lets you know they got no value out of battle warding. The Olaf farming in his own jungle is so different to what we saw from Peanut earlier today and how the pick is intended to be played. So it felt miscast. The entire comp here felt miscast by ROX Tigers. And while there was some good play to get it close and make it competitive as we went after 35 minutes, deserved victory for MVP.
So we're going to see the 2nd MVP of the night. It is going to be Ian doing his cool pose. 4-2-9. And he plays that Ryze quite well. Surprised we didn't see more bans on the Ryze. As we mentioned, looks really great on the new patch.
But you have MVP figured, right? They don't play Galio. Ian's Ryze 0-2. Why respect it? And the question here is answered in that they have now been able to take picks that were not working categorically in their 0-10 start and make them strength. The use of Realm Warp in this game should be commended.
That's it. So guys, we are going to hand it over to the interview. We'll have Ji-sun to help you out with the translation.
맞습니다. 승강전을 피하기 위해 전력을 다한 MVP 선수들을 성승원 캐스터와 함께 만나보시죠.
MVP is picking up 2-0 victory against ROX Tigers and taking consecutive victory today. What a fan. So how do you feel?
오늘 경기로 인해서 자력으로 일단은 강등권을 탈출해서 기분이
So we are no more in danger of going down to the relegation, so I'm really happy. How about you, Ian?
개인적으로 팀원들이 오늘은 제가 엄청 잘했다기보다는
I want to thank my teammates for performing so well. I think they did even better than me, especially Pilot. I think he's the real MVP of today's series.
제가 설명해 드리도록 할게요. 오늘 뭐 경기력이 진짜 커뮤니티가 벌써 난리가 났대요. 야, 아 킹존 1경기 아니었어? 뭐 이런
You
얘기가
guys'
있더라고요.
performance was so great that the fans thought it was Kingzone's match.
1경기에는 그 시작 자체가 사실상 그렇게 좋다고
Well,
보기도
but the
어려웠잖아요.
first game,
그리고 심지어는 뭐
it was
마무리를
struggling
연이어서
for you guys.
상대방이 잡아내면서 수성하는 과정에서도 굉장히 어려웠던 것 같은데 그때 상황들은 어땠나요?
So how are you able to
다
strike
같이
back?
힘들어가지고 근데 저는 좀 그렇게 망한 편은 아니라서
Yeah, we were all having hard time, but I thought I was quite skilled enough, so I told my teammates that I will carry in the late game.
아, 브로동의 사랑 아니겠습니까? 일단은 확실한 그 장면들이 좀 있었던 것 같은데 이한 선수는 그때 어떤 내용들이 오고
네,
갔었어요?
Ian, do you want to add up to that?
제가 중간에 끊겨가지고
Well, I got caught out in the mid game, so I tried to just focus more and do my part.
열심히
I believed in my teammates that they will carry the game, so I just tried to do my role and my part.
첫 번째 세트 만나볼 장면은 바로 보노동 동사무소에 헌정할 만한
Then let's check out the
굉장한
highlights from the game
장면이
one.
나왔습니다. 이 세트 장면 만나보죠. 볼까요?
아 여기에요?
네. 모든 장면이 좋았기 때문에 그 중에 하나인데요.
It's the one of the
여기서
highlights.
뒤로 빠진 다음에 여기서 또 뒤를 막 파일럿이 엄청 집어넣는 장면.
You were damaging. Your damage was great here.
솔직히 좀 펜타킬 할 수 있었던 것 같은데
Well, I was close to a pentakill, but
칼리스탑은 잘 살아나.
I think Sangyoon managed to
그렇죠.
survive
뒤쪽으로
well,
빠져나가는 것
so
때문에.
it was really close.
하지만 그 전에 그만큼 욕심을 낼 정도로 뒤쪽에서 성장 기회를 잘 활용할 만한 위치가 돼 있었던 거잖아요. 이때는 무슨 콜이 있었던 거예요? 그 상황에서?
And what did you guys say to each other?
그때는 블라디가 일단 저희가 뒤쪽에서 온다는 사실을 알고 있었어요.
So Ed was coming in the back line.
블라디가 아니면 그렇게 저한테 위협적인 딜러가 없어서
Oh, actually, it was Lindarang coming in the back line, so I was able to survive if I just pushed through.
좋았었고, 전반적인 흐름들이 굉장히 좋았었던 1세트인데 2세트도 한번 살펴볼까요?
Then moving on to game 2.
일단은 이한 선수가 이제 완전히 확실히 그 최고의 미드라이너들과 견주를
We can
만한
say that
실력을
Ian, you
보여준
are the top
경기다라는 평가가 있을
mid laner in
정도로
LCK,
라이즈를 들고 할 수 있는 많은 것들을 좀
and you've shown
해냈었는데
great
본인
macro on
생각은
your
있을 것
Ryze.
같습니까?
근데 저는 게임하는 내내 그냥
Well, for me, actually,
잘한 것 같진 않아가지고
I am not satisfied by my play today,
잘했다라고 하더라고요.
but it's really nice to hear other people telling me that I did well. Thank you.
여기서 달려드는 장면 완전히 다 끝났다고 생각하는 이 순간 흘려내리시는 분위기가 달라졌으니까
Well, you managed to survive here.
야, 이때는 좀 잘한 것 같았어요. 네, 이때도 사실상 저번과 비슷하게
네.
Just like last time,
백업이 있었기에 가능한 슈퍼
it was possible because I had Beyond for me to make backups.
이거는 맥스가 콜을 해줬어요.
And this one was a shot call from Max, who told me to use the ult forward.
잘해줘서 제가 빛난 것 같아요.
So I want to give all the credits to my teammates.
굉장히 좋았다는 생각이 듭니다. 지금도 그래서 MVP를 받지는 않았습니다만 선수들이 승리를 만끽하면서 스쳐 지나가는 그런 장면들이 있었는데 어떻습니까? 2세트의 이즈리얼에 대한 질문들이 그
And there are a lot of questions about your item builds on Ezreal.
그거 팔고 양다리 놓고 사고
You had Dark Seal with full stack, but you sold it away and bought Black Cleaver. Can you tell us more about that?
돈이 진짜로 350원이 남았어요. 롱소드는 좀 효율이 별로인 것 같고.
Well, after I had a recall, I had 350 gold left, so I just bought the Dark Seal. But as soon as I saw it with the full stack, I knew that the game was on our side.
기부 뭐 이런 얘기가 되고 있었거든요. 펜타킬이 쌓이면 쌓일수록 기부도 많이 올라가고 있잖아요.
And MVP made a pledge that the team will be donating
$10
$10 for every kills, but and there are total 128 kills, and Pilot, you had 48 kills so far.
그런 느낌이 막 들고 있는데
You better be donating a lot of money.
제가 킬을 많이 해서 기부를 할 수 있게 돼서 저는
I did pick up a lot of kills, so I feel so honored that I am able to make so much donations.
10만 원 기부하도록 하겠습니다.
And I'm gonna make it push through 100 and 1,000 kills throughout the split.
네. 그리고 또 얘기가 나왔던 게 그 뱀페이크 할 때 특유의 그 포즈가 있잖아요. 우리가 소위 얘기하는 그 PC방 포즈 중에 하나. 앞바다리,
And the
양바다리
fans are
이런
curious
포즈를
about you
쓰는데
sitting your
그거는
legs
누가 좀
crossed.
편한가요, 그 상황이?
Very relaxed.
그게 편하다기보다는
네.
저 의자가 여기 강남 넥슨 아레나 의자가
The chair in
편해가지고
Sport TV Nexon Arena is so comfortable, so
했을 때 좀 포근한 느낌이 있어요.
I feel really
아,
relaxed
일단
here.
기본적으로 상암과 똑같은 의자인데 어쨌든 스폰서분에게 조만간에 전화 올 것 같아요. 모르는 전화 오면은 받아요. 네, 스폰서분일 테니까.
Thank you for the compliment.
자, 이한 선수는 오늘 너무 겸손한 얘기를 많이 했었는데 오늘 그 합을 통해서
So Ian, I think you are having a really humble state of mind today.
좀 좋았던 그런 플레이
But
있었나요?
is there any other highlights that you want to mention today?
저 혼자 이제 그 미드 억제기에서 탑 3차로 공 써서
That moment that we used the Ryze ult to the top lane.
위에 탑을 밀었었던 그 장면, 굉장히 좋았던 장면이
혼자
있었습니다.
생각해서 한 거.
Well, that was my own decision, so I feel a little bit proud for that.
그런 경기가 있었습니다. 그리고 오늘은 사실 선수들에게 이거만한 선물이 없을 것 같아요. 순위 볼까요?
So let's check out the rankings in LCK.
7위까지 올라왔어요.
You guys made it to the 7th here,
5승을 시작합니다.
picking up 5 wins in LCK.
만들어냈다는 이 과정 자체가 굉장히 좋을 것 같습니다. 어떻습니까?
How do you feel?
일단 다른 팀이 못 이겨서가 아닌 저희가 이겨서 올라갔기 때문에
I'm just happy that we made this score by ourselves.
앞으로도 더 많이 이겨보도록 하겠습니다.
I'm gonna promise to keep making these victories.
어떻습니까, 이한 선수?
So you guys are facing Jiner on the next game.
이번 라운드는 1라운드 때
Well, in the first round robin, we did lose out against Jiner, so I'm gonna promise to make a revenge this time.
선수가 멋진 플레이를 보여주면서 오늘 경기 마감을 했습니다. 오늘 사실상 그 주요 플레이들을 좀 많이 했었던 선수 중에 이 선수는 거의 준 MVP였기 때문에
And we have another person to share a talk with, Beyond.
사실 뭐 그런 얘기를 엄청 많이 했어요. 비욘드 선수의 그 합이 좋았었다.
Ian said that he had a very good
어떻습니까, 오늘 경기?
teamwork with you today.
솔직히 미드가 잘해줘서 정글도 잘 풀린 것 같아요.
I think our mid laner did so well today, so I wanna give the credit to Ian.
훈훈한 분위기가 좀 많이 나오고 있는데 오늘 근데 사실상 1세트에서 굉장히 좀 어려운 내용들이 많이 있었잖아요.
But the first game was a little bit hard for you guys.
그 궁극기를 적중시킨 이후부터 분위기들이 많이
But
만들었었으니까.
since you guys won the team fight, you could turn the tables around.
교환 중에 이제 제가 이거 갈리오 그냥 오질 텐데 그냥 공 박으면 한타 이길 것 같다.
Yeah, I made a shot call that I think if we open the team fight focusing on Galileo, I think we could win. And luckily we got him down, and we also got the momentum back to ourselves.
골드가 뒤쳐졌었어요. 1세트. 그거 상관없이
Even
굉장히 전투를 잘
even though you guys won the first set, your gold lead was behind, so it was a really great team fight from MVP.
헬로. 예. 키가 몇이냐고. 지금 굉장히 이한 선수가 생각보다 많이 크다고.
So,
지금 막 게시글이
There's a question from fans. How tall are you?
말씀해 주실까요?
제가 여기 왔 한 180 정도였는데
네.
사람들이 맨날 와 더 컸다 해가지고
네.
I was
81 정도 되죠.
180 centimeters, but I think I have grew a little, so 181 maybe. So thanks to the fans, we could hear how tall he was. And lastly, you guys are always having awesome fans out here. Would you like to say anything to your fans?
언제나 항상 응원해주셔서 감사하고
Thank you for the support,
많이 분위기 안 좋았을 때도
and thank you for supporting us throughout the good and the bad.
큰 힘이 되었어요.
That really helped us a lot.
감사드리고
So I really want to appreciate all the support.
하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
항상 찾아와 주셔서 일단 감사드리고
Thank you for coming out to support us.
보답하기 위해서 더 열심히 해가지고
So
더
we're gonna
올라가도록 하겠습니다.
promise to keep practicing to pay all your efforts back.
똑같은데 항상 와주셔서 감사하고
Thank you for coming out all the time
저희가
and support us.
엄청나잖아요 지금 2라운드 때
그렇죠.
And you know, we are performing so well in the second round robin, so we're gonna make sure to go higher
보시는 모든 사람들도
till the end of the season
재밌다 이 소리 나오고
and make the fans enjoy the MVP matches.
이미 팬여러분께서 오늘 인정하고 계실 것 같습니다. 자, 이렇게 해서 오늘 멋진 경기를 펼친 3명의 선수와 얘기를 나눠봤습니다.
So this will be the end of the interview with 3 players from MVP.
오늘의 최고의 플레이를 펼친 MVP 선수.
So I'll send it back over to our casters.
Well, it was a 2-0 victory, not the one I expected. So MVP fans certainly extremely happy after the results tonight. And again, 5 games left. They're sitting at 5-8. If they go on a miracle run, 10-8 is definitely a playoff score.
I mean, 8-match wins should probably get you close to playoffs. So 3-2 from here, and they're in with a real shout, Valdez. Their problem is they probably have to go 4 or 5 because of their game score still being among the worst after going down 0-10 to start the season. So 2-0, the manner of the victory is going to be very relevant for them. Are they going to make playoffs? Your first thought is probably not. Are they going to get relegated? Almost certainly not. How well they've done recently. Going for the turret dives, being assertive, making the smart map plays, and getting the most out of the Ryze. A team that, a month ago felt like they had no must bans against them. Suddenly ADD's champion pool, Ian can play the Ryze, and other meta picks as Azir is something that's been contested as well. Suddenly, there's a lot of doubt when you have to play MVP, and that's full credit to MVP for their dramatic improvement.
Yeah, for sure, and even able to turn a fight around like this, where they were looking like they were in a poor position, but eventually get the win here. Their 2 carries stay alive. I think Pilot got a double kill on the end of that one, and Olaf disappears. They all turn off the Baron. Good communication. Their Baron plays tonight is another thing you have to say, as it's a huge improvement overall, and especially from where they came from. That's a lot to say. So let's take a look at the results. The 2-0 for MVP tonight in 2 longer games, especially compared to what we had earlier today.
But still, when you see the 40-minute Barons coming, when the Elder Dragon is as strong as it is, it does feel like the 60 minutes to 94-minute games are a thing of the past. So congratulations go, of course, to Teddy. He will now have the longest, the highest amount of CS forever, because we will never have another 94-minute game. I know someone in chat sad about that. You know, I'm enjoying the tighter games largely, and you guys should enjoy the fact that somehow MVP have pulled their way back from 0-5 to 5-8. They're in with an outside chance. For now, 5th spot is only 1 match win away. That is insanity.
Yeah, especially after the beating SKT took earlier and the beating that KSV took from MVP. It's a couple of teams that they certainly could get over. Another question mark goes towards ROX Tigers, who are currently in 4th place, but they lose 0-2 to MVP, and they don't look good doing it. Really, the only 3 teams that are solidified in my mind are the 3 at the top.
8-match wins, I think, probably gets you playoffs, but guys, schedule rolls out. We have some bangers this week. Thursday, insane day. SK Telecom T1 against KT, and then Afrika's first visit, last team to debut on 8.4, against suddenly a ROX Tigers team desperate to not go down 0-2 and move to 7-7. KT Rolster versus KSV, depending on how KSV looks against BBQ. Could be a hype one the next day. It's going to be a really fun week here. For Kingzone Dragon X, it feels like a lot of their competition has fallen away. We do not have Kingzone versus KT this week, but that's another one to circle on your calendar for the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yep, going to be looking forward to that one. The March 8th games were looking a little bit better when ROX Tigers had so much hype, but we'll see. I mean, they have a lot to prove now. Whenever you go down to MVP, especially based off their performance earlier, it was kind of that benchmark team where it's like, well, if you can't beat them, who can you beat? But they're getting better overall, so definitely not out of it against the Freaks.
Feels like 1 team out of ROX, KSV, and SKT will miss playoffs, and potentially 2, depending on how much the rest of the teams can actually level up. So there is a lot to play for in the standings when it comes to that middle of the pack. 4th and 5th right now. More uncertain than I can remember in history. Like you say, top 3 looks pretty solidified. See if Afrika can actually stick the landing on patch 8.4 when they actually debut on Thursday.
Yeah, so it was a fun day today.
Oh, it was.
Especially that first match. If you guys missed it, lots of fun, especially if you're a Kingzone fan. But it was a really fun cast overall, just because it was really fast. It was the new patch, and Kingzone just look untouchable at this point.
They look untouchable.
I don't know who's gonna beat them.
MVP look improved. We still don't know how the patch will affect the other 6 teams that have not played yet, and that's a hype thing as well, because we're only scratching the surface of the new stuff. The champion pool is wide open.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for us. Thanks once again for watching. Thank you, Papa, for casting as well. But we'll see you guys next time at Spo TV on Sunday, but make sure to tune in tomorrow as well. We'll see you next time.
락스 타이거즈와 MVP의 경기는 MVP의 승리로 끝이 났습니다. 포스트 시즌 경쟁에 갈 길이 바쁜 락스 타이거즈에게는 참으로 아쉬운 경기가 아닐 수가 없겠는데요. 특히나 순위를 나란히 하고 있는 아프리카 프릭스와의 경기가 목요일로 예정이 되어 있기 때문에 내일 하루 락스 타이거즈 선수들에게는 상당히 중요한 하루가 될 것으로 보입니다. 처음으로 8.4 패치로 함께 보내드린 2018 LCK 스프링 스플릿, 앞으로 어떤 변수들이 경기를 더욱더 흥미롭게 만들지 많은 기대 부탁드리겠습니다. 저희는 상암에서 펼쳐지는 경기 이후 일요일 오후 4시 50분에 다시 인사드리겠습니다. 함께해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다.